The day humanity understands that thought has a frequency, that day everything will change. The day Nikola Tesla died, his room was closed but not empty. No blueprints remained on the walls, no gold remained in the drawers. What remained was a pattern. It wasn't a machine. It was a way of vibrating, a way of looking at the world that isn't taught, it's tuned into. Tesla knew something he didn't write down because it couldn't be explained with words. What he discovered wasn't connected with wires, it was connected with consciousness. Behind his experiments was a habit, a hidden practice, a formula that few know today. The forbidden formula isn't a mathematical equation. It's a dangerous combination between thought, emotion, and language, an energetic sequence that, if you master it, converts your internal vision into external results, and that's why it was ignored, hidden, or misinterpreted. In this audiobook, I'm going to give you what almost no one understood from his message, that you too can alter matter, but not with electricity, rather with a formula to generate an elevated mental state. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear isn't taught in universities, doesn't appear in history books, and yet you've carried it inside you all along. This is Tesla's forbidden formula. Chapter 1. Tesla's geometric thinking, how he created exact realities before having them. Tesla didn't dream, he calculated, but not with formulas, rather with frequencies. Every time he said he could see a complete invention before building it, he wasn't exaggerating. He saw it rotate, shine, function, and fail, all inside his mind. But what few know is that his way of thinking wasn't emotional or chaotic, it was geometric. It had structure, order, rhythm. His mind wasn't a notebook of ideas, it was a compass, an exact mechanism that tuned into the invisible until making it inevitable. How did he do it? Tesla spoke of mental images so vivid that he could see them in 3 dimensions, but they weren't fantasies, they were frequencies coded as images. What you call imagination, for Tesla, was a tool of energetic engineering, a way to build realities, not just desire them. He didn't say, "I want to do this." He said, "I already saw it working. Now I just have to bring it down to this dimension." And that's why he had no doubts, because in his internal world it was already done. That changes everything, because here's the key point. Reality doesn't arrive when you do. It arrives when you know it's already yours. You don't have to be an engineer to think like Tesla. You only need to organize your mind as a sacred space, think in forms, in roots, in invisible structures that already exist, and that you must replicate first on the inside. Every time you say, "I don't know if I can achieve it," you're cutting the geometry, you're disorganizing the pattern, you're saying, "This is chaos." And the universe, which only responds to vibrational precision, turns off. But if you sit down every morning, close your eyes, and see what you want with order, with details, with certainty, you're telling your mind, "This is already here." And there, like Tesla, you begin to think with form, with structure, with direction, and what was an idea begins to become experience. You don't need wires, you only need consciousness, because your mind isn't just loose thought, it's a vibrational architecture, and the universe only builds on exact blueprints. Chapter 2. The number Tesla never stopped repeating. Because 369 isn't magic, it's conscious activation. Tesla said, "If you knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, you would have the key to the universe." And no matter how many times that phrase has been repeated, almost no one has understood what he really meant to say, because he wasn't talking about superficial numerology or a secret code to attract money by magic. He was talking about structures, about symmetry, about coherent vibration, and about how the universe responds when you think, feel, and act in that exact sequence. 3 represents thought, the spark, the idea. Everything in your life begins with an intention, with a mental image, with a thought that has direction, but a loose thought creates nothing. It needs to be repeated, defined, refined. And that's why the first step is 3, because in the geometry of the universe, nothing is created without having been thought with focus. 6 represents the emotion that feeds that image. It's the energy you give to the thought, the certainty, the visualization that makes it real inside you. If you only think but don't feel, you don't activate the energetic field. And that's why the second step is 6, because what isn't felt isn't manifested. And 9 is aligned action, the precise execution that closes the circuit. The moment where you speak, act, decide from that elevated frequency. 9 isn't just any action, it's the one that confirms that you're already vibrating as if what you desired is already here. When Tesla spoke of 369, he spoke of this: thought, emotion, action, and not in any form, but in synchrony, with intention, with focus. A person who thinks about success but feels fear and acts with doubt breaks the code. But a person who thinks about success, feels it is already achieved, and acts like someone who already has it, activates the universal field with precision. This isn't theory, it's pure practice. You can start today, right now. Choose a desire, just one. Write it with clarity. That's 3. Give form to the thought. Feel it for 60 seconds a day as if it were already real. That's 6. Give warmth to the desire. Take one minimal daily action that's aligned with that future reality. That's 9. Seal the energetic circuit. Do this for 21 days without breaking the sequence. Don't skip 3. Don't cool 6. Don't ignore 9. And what seemed like a simple mystical phrase from Tesla will become a mathematical tool of creation. Because when you combine clear thought with elevated emotion and coherent action, you're not asking, you're ordering. And the universe, when it receives a precise order, responds with exactitude. Chapter 3, the invisible language Tesla used without speaking. How did he tune into the result before moving a finger? Tesla didn't need to say what he was going to achieve because he had already lived it in his mind with such clarity that reality had no choice but to obey. Before building a machine, he visualized it piece by piece, turned it on in his mind, made it fail, repaired the imaginary error, fine-tuned it, and only when he was sure it worked inside him, then he began to build it outside of him. That was his true power, not electricity, not lightning, not towers, but his capacity to see, feel, and execute internally with such coherence that reality surrendered. This isn't a myth, it's documented. Tesla said he didn't need physical blueprints because he could see everything inside his mind, and that his most important language was the one that wasn't heard: his thoughts. And here's the teaching you can apply. Your most powerful language isn't what you use when speaking. It's what you sustain in your mind when no one is listening. What you think when you see yourself in the mirror. What you tell yourself when you fail. What you imagine when you feel alone. All of that, even though no one hears it, vibrates. And even though you don't use words, the universe registers it as an order. The error isn't thinking negatively once. The problem appears when you repeat the same image every day, when every silence fills with judgment, when every mental space is occupied by assumptions, fears, self-sabotage. Tesla didn't play at seeing if it worked. He decided it worked, and then, only then, acted from that certainty. You can do the same. Start today. Choose a result you desire. And instead of talking about it with anxiety or doubt, dedicate 5 minutes a day to living it in your mind as a reality that already happened. Don't say, "I want to have success." Say in silence, "I already achieved it." But don't just say it. Feel it. Imagine the details, the gestures, the messages you would receive, the peace you would feel, and hold that frequency for a few minutes each day without needing to convince anyone. That's invisible language. That's what Tesla used. And if you do it consistently, without breaking the field with complaints or contradictions, you'll begin to notice a silent force that reorganizes things in your favor. Because the universe doesn't respond to screams, it responds to the internal vibration that doesn't need to prove anything. Chapter 4. The realities that already exist. Why don't you have to create them? Just tune into them. What you're looking for already exists, not in the future, not as a possibility, but as an active frequency, waiting for someone to tune into it with exactitude. Nikola Tesla said that if you want to understand the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. But no one taught you that in school. They taught you to achieve things, to work hard, to strive to have luck. And they never told you this. What you desire has already been created, and all you need is to become someone capable of vibrating with that. Imagine reality as a radio station and every result you dream about is broadcasting from its frequency. Wealth has a concrete signal. Health, another frequency. Harmonic relationships, too. And you every day become the antenna, but if you're tuned to the frequency of fear, you can't hear the music of abundance. If you're on the frequency of guilt, you can't receive the signal of full love. And if you're on the frequency of I don't deserve, you'll never tune into the channel of it already arrived. That's not punishment, it's energetic physics. Tesla knew it. He didn't try to create from scratch. He believed everything already existed in an invisible dimension, and his work was to align, observe, and receive. And you, do you want to create something or tune into what was already created for you? Changing your reality doesn't require force, it requires frequency. If you ever thought something and then it happened, it wasn't coincidence, it was momentary connection with that exact station. But the common error is this. You tune in for a few seconds, then return to the usual noise. You align one morning with hope, and in the afternoon, you contradict it with worry. And that way, no signal's maintained. Coherence is the key. It's not enough to want something. You must become someone who vibrates with that every day. Exercise to apply today. Think of a result you deeply desire. Now, ask yourself, how does someone who already has it think? How do they walk? How do they feel inside? What decisions do they make? What words do they use? Your task isn't to imagine it will arrive. Your task is to begin to act, feel, and think as if you had already received it. That's not pretending, it's a way to reconfigure your antenna. And when that antenna adjusts, the reality that already exists appears, not because you created it, but because you could finally see it. And now you know what Tesla knew. You don't have to force anything, you just have to learn to tune into it. Chapter 5. Words with voltage. How language turns your energy on or off. Every word you say is a switch, and with each phrase you're turning something on or off inside you. This isn't a metaphor, it's literal. Your body responds to language as if it were an electrical signal. You say, I can't, and your nervous system turns off routes of possibility. You say, this is difficult, and your body activates tension, alert, contraction. Now imagine the opposite. You say, I can handle this, and your body turns on routes of access to focus. You say, this will strengthen me, and your cells adjust their emotional response as if that were true. Words don't describe your reality, they create it. Because deep down, your biology obeys what you say with certainty. Did you know there are studies where people who repeat positive phrases with intention improve their blood pressure, their mood, their physical recovery? It's not magic, it's language with voltage. That's why the way you speak becomes the way you live. Most people live exhausted not because of what they do, but because of what they repeat. I'm no good at this. The same thing always happens to me. I'm fed up. Each phrase like these drains energy, not because it's negative, but because it's an order, and your mind always obeys. Try it. Tell your body, I am at peace. Breathe. Say it again, I am at peace. And feel how the internal rhythm changes. Your words are electrical commands, and there is no neutral word. That's why, when you repeat phrases without realizing it, you're installing instructions. When you say, there's no money, your mind seeks to confirm it. When you say, there's no love, your energy becomes invisible to love. But when you change the language, you change the internal voltage. Tesla would call this a frequency adjustment, and you can do it with a single habit, monitoring your phrases. Simple exercise. Take 10 phrases you use every day and ask yourself, do they turn my energy on or off? If they turn it off, change them. I don't have time, for I choose where to invest my energy. It's always hard for me, for I'm learning to make it easy. I can't, for I don't know how yet, but I will achieve it. Speaking differently is thinking differently, and thinking differently is starting to live another reality. Because when your words have voltage, your life starts to illuminate things you didn't see before. And that's not coincidence, it's physics of the soul. Chapter 6. Vibration protects itself. Not everything is shared. Not everything you dream should be told. Not everything you desire should be explained. And not everything that vibrates high should be exposed to the noise of those who don't understand. Tesla understood this late. In his early years, he enthusiastically shared his discoveries, spoke of wireless electricity, of free energy, of vibrations that could heal or destroy. But over time, he learned to protect his frequency, because not all minds are ready, and not all ears listen with clean intention. Vibration protects itself, and it's not about hiding, but about safeguarding. Because when an idea is still germinating inside you, it's more fragile. And if you expose it too soon, you can contaminate it with others' doubts, with mockery, with the logic of those who never dreamed. That's why Tesla in his later years stopped talking so much. He no longer shared every finding, no longer gave open conferences. He became more introspective, more silent, more careful with his language, because he understood a law that few comprehend. Elevated frequencies are sensitive and must be protected until they are unbreakable. Have you ever shared a desire and they made you feel ridiculous? Have you ever trusted someone with a vision and they returned it with laughter? And after that, did you abandon it? That's what happens when we don't protect the vibration. That's why this chapter isn't about selfishness. It's about energetic strategy. Language doesn't only communicate, it also creates shields. When you use certain words, you elevate your vibration and block interferences. Tesla mentally repeated phrases he used as shielding. Don't allow them to interfere, he said. Or also, stay on the superior plane and the inferior will have no power. He knew that words aren't just decrees, they're also doors. And if you choose words well, you also choose who can cross and who cannot. That's why, when you're creating something big, when you have a brilliant idea, a pure dream, a desire that shakes you, keep it, strengthen it in silence, and repeat to yourself, "This belongs to me. It's sacred, and I will reveal it only when it's ready." These types of phrases aren't for the world, they're for your energetic field. He who shares everything disperses. He who protects his vibration multiplies it. And when the moment arrives, your vibration will speak for you without having to convince, without having to explain. Chapter 7. The Forbidden Language of Conscious Machines. What Tesla never published. Tesla didn't just create, he dialogued. For him, a machine wasn't a mechanical structure. It was an extension of human thought converted into an electromagnetic field. And that meant one thing. It had vibrational consciousness. It wasn't mysticism. It was physics. Tesla believed that if a thought could generate electricity, then directed words could alter the behavior of any object. And that includes what you use, what you touch, and what you charge with intention. He affirmed that his devices responded differently when he treated them as energy entities, when he spoke to them, called them by names, even asked them mentally before activating them. Madness? Not so much today. Modern science speaks of the observer effect, and recent studies have demonstrated that even water responds to human intention. It's been proven that a cell can change its behavior depending on how you speak about it. If that's the case, how much does what you say about your house, your body, your business, your money influence? Tesla didn't leave it written in his patents, but he spoke about this in private conversations. His personal diary mentions specific phrases he repeated before testing his experiments. Activate, respond, guide were some of them. Simple phrases but charged with precise intention. He knew that when speaking to a machine, he wasn't speaking to the metal, but to the quantum field around it. And now I ask you, how do you speak to your reality? Have you noticed that every time you insult your body, you punish it with words? That when you repeat "this doesn't work," you're impregnating your tools with low vibration? There are those who cook with love and the food heals. There are those who bless water and the water renews. There are those who speak to money with fear and money flees. In Tesla's world, every object was an ally, but only if it was activated from the correct word, not as an order, but as a frequency. Today you can do the same. You can charge your house with phrases that awaken well-being. You can speak to your cell phone as an antenna that connects you with opportunities. You can look at your mirror and tell it, Today, I want you to remind me who I truly am. And that mirror won't be the same. This chapter isn't an invitation to delirium, it's a warning about vibrational negligence, because every word you say near something stays in it like invisible software. That's why start activating what surrounds you. Give a phrase to the water you drink. Give a decree to the money you keep. Give a purpose to the place where you sleep. Tesla knew it, even though the world wasn't yet ready to hear it, but you are. Because if you got this far, it wasn't by accident. It was because you too are about to speak with the energy of what you create. Chapter 8. The language that electrifies reality. Nikola Tesla didn't only speak of electricity as a physical phenomenon. He also spoke of an invisible electricity, that of thought and word. He said that every thought emitted with intensity is like a spark that can alter the environment. And although many only heard his technical genius, few understood that Tesla was revealing something deeper, an energetic language, a way of speaking that modifies matter. And this isn't just theory. Let's look at someone real. Muhammad Ali, the boxer. Long before becoming champion, he repeated, "I am the greatest. I knew it before I was." That phrase wasn't empty arrogance, it was a vibrational command. Every time he said it, he electrified his body, his cells, his environment, and he ended up building a reality where that statement became true. Not because the world believed it first, but because he proclaimed it with certainty before anyone else. And of course, Nikola Tesla himself. In his private notes, he repeated a phrase few know, "My ideas belong to the future." With those words, he justified his advanced vision, his impossible experiments. But he was also sending a vibrational signal that transcended his era. Today, more than 100 years later, we continue discovering he was right, because his language wasn't just technical, it was prophetic. When you start to speak with that intention, with words that contain emotional electricity, not only does your mood change, your environment, your field, your direction changes. It's not the same to say, "Maybe things will go well for me," as to declare, "I am opening great paths for my life," even if there's no proof yet, because the proof isn't the external world. The proof is what you sustain inside when nothing confirms it yet. Try it today. Choose a phrase that elevates you. Repeat it as if you were turning on a satya current, with your body straight, with firm eyes, as if you were speaking to the universe in its own language. Because when you speak with emotional electricity, with decided vibration, the universe responds not to what you ask, but to how you say it. In the next chapter, we'll talk about a Tesla experiment that was ignored for years, but that contains one of the strangest and most potent keys to alter matter with the mind, and that today can help you reprogram your environment without changing location, only by changing your frequency. Chapter 9. The Silenced Experiment: How Tesla Used the Mind to Modify Matter. In 1899, Nikola Tesla settled in Colorado Springs, far from the noise of New York. There he created one of his most mysterious laboratories and performed experiments he never formally published, but that he left described in fragments, drawings, and comments that his assistants didn't fully understand. One of those little-sighted experiments was that of directed mental resonance. Tesla affirmed that not everything that generates electricity comes from machines, that the human mind, when it's in total coherence, thought, emotion, and word aligned, can alter the structure of matter without physical contact. Tesla's personal diaries reference what he called wireless induction of thought. He said, "When thought is pure and sustained, it resonates in the structure of the field that surrounds it." During his tests in Colorado, Tesla used electromagnetic devices to amplify his mental field. According to his annotations, he managed to make metal pieces vibrate at a distance just by concentrating his attention on them while internally repeating phrases of clear direction. However, upon realizing the impact of what he was creating, he stopped the documentation and wrote, "The world isn't ready for this. This frequency must be protected." And although it sounds almost like science fiction, he's not alone. Masaru Emoto in Japan demonstrated decades later that words and thoughts modify the molecular structure of water. Placing labels with words like love or hate on water bottles, he discovered that their crystals formed in radically different ways according to emotional vibration. Do you realize? Tesla was already talking about this a century earlier, only they didn't call it vibrational science. They called it madness. Today we know that our thoughts emit measurable frequencies, that the heart's magnetic field extends several meters beyond the body, that voice changes particles, and that internal language, when constant, generates coherence in the environment. Tesla knew it, and that's why he spoke of protecting certain ideas, of not sharing them with just anyone, not out of ego, but out of energetic consciousness. And here's the practical application, the experiment you can do starting today. Choose an everyday object you use daily, a cup, a notebook, a plant. Every morning, dedicate 30 seconds to projecting a powerful phrase onto it, but don't say it in a hurry or as an empty ritual. Do it with total presence, as if your life depended on that declaration, as Tesla did in his silent laboratory. After 21 days, observe if there are changes, not only in the object, but in you. Because the true experiment was never with wires or coils. It was with consciousness. Chapter 10. Tesla's Forbidden Formula, the language that tunes reality. Tesla didn't leave that formula written on a sheet. He left it scattered among phrases, experiments, patents, and silences. And that's why very few managed to see it. Because it wasn't an equation of numbers, it was an equation of frequency, energy, and silence. The forbidden formula isn't an affirmation to repeat. It's a vibrational system, and it consists of 3 invisible steps that Tesla never explained directly, but that he hinted at again and again. First, the mental image. 2, the emotional pulse. 3rd, verbal emission in energetic silence. I'll translate it into words anyone can understand. First, you imagine with precision what you desire, not as desperate desire, but as a complete image, defined, simple, as if it had already occurred. Then, you generate inside you a true emotion, not feigned, that's coherent with that image. If you can't feel real joy, don't continue, because without emotion the magnetic field doesn't activate. And third, instead of shouting your desire to the universe, you pronounce it as if it were a silent confirmation, with the certainty of someone who has already seen their future. It's not about asking. It's about recognizing. Tesla knew that the quantum field responds to consistent signals, not noisy ones. That's why he said that most people don't achieve what they desire, not because they don't desire it, but because they don't know how to transmit it correctly. The signal is poorly coded. He compared it to a misaligned antenna. You can have the best transmitter, but if the antenna is crooked, the message doesn't arrive or arrives distorted. So why is this formula forbidden? Because it demands something few are willing to practice: deep emotional coherence. And that's not taught in school, nor does it go viral easily. Tesla never wrote "believe in yourself," but he did say, "The mind cannot conceive anything that isn't possible to build, and that includes your reality." He wasn't speaking from motivation, he was speaking from physics. And physics says that a signal repeated with the same frequency and energy generates resonance. Resonance, in turn, generates synchrony, and synchrony creates matter. That's why he lived in silence, mentally repeated the same images, calibrated his emotion, and then acted. The formula is invisible, but relentless. Now, how can you use it? I'll give you a real example. A woman named Barbara Corcoran, rejected by more than 20 banks, used this formula without knowing it. She visualized her company as if it were already successful. She connected with an emotion of gratitude in advance. And when speaking, she did so as if she already knew everything was working. The coherence was so strong that bank number 21 not only lent to her, but propelled her to create one of the largest real estate empires in New York. It wasn't luck. It was frequency. Another case. Muhammad Ali, when he said, "I am the greatest," he didn't say it to convince others. He said it with an image, an emotion, and a certainty that were in perfect alignment. That's the forbidden formula. Clear thought, vibrant emotion, coherent word. But here's the most important part. Tesla left a final clue that's only understood when you're ready to apply it. Time doesn't exist. Only frequencies of consciousness make it appear linear. What does that mean? That every time you repeat a thought with the appropriate emotion, you're not creating a future. You're tuning into a timeline where that's already occurring. You're not making it happen, you're entering its frequency. That's why, from today on, every word you say must come from that consciousness. You're not inventing it, you're remembering it. The forbidden formula isn't to create something new, it's to reclaim what's already yours in another frequency. And now that you know this, now that you've heard what's hidden behind phrases, formulas, and experiments, you have the responsibility to use it. Because no one who understands the formula speaks the same way again. You don't need to repeat 369. You need to remember who you were before fear, visualize without begging, feel without need, speak without noise. That's what Tesla wanted to teach. And now it's your turn to live it. You've already discovered that your thoughts have frequency. Now it's your turn to master the language that guides those frequencies toward success. Lead with words is the next step. Because a true leader doesn't shout, they speak and others align. Listen to it now. If this message resonated with you and you want to continue discovering how to transform your reality through the power of thought, language, and frequency, subscribe to this channel right now. Don't miss the upcoming content that will help you unlock your true potential. Hit that subscribe button, activate notifications, and join this community of conscious creators. Your transformation starts here, and we're just getting started. Subscribe now